So as Sapphire just said, we're all from Yext, and we're really excited to be presenting to you all today. So essentially, Vig, my colleague, is going to go ahead and start with a brief overview of kind of the history of Yext and how we came to build what we're working on currently, and a little bit about our newest product offering called Answers. And then we'll switch a little bit over to myself and Oscar, and we're going to talk kind of about what it is like to be an engineer at Yext and how we kind of work together to build all the things that Vig will go over. And then at the end, anyone should ask any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Cool. Should we get right into it? Cool. So hello, everyone. My name is Vig. I'm excited to be here to help support this talented community of women engineers. I'm going to give you a quick overview of what we do at Yext. So our founders got together in around the year 2000. After several pivots and multiple iterations over our platform, Yext went public in 2017. We now have over 1,300 employees and about 170 engineers. We're actually now getting ready to move into our own building and brand new headquarters that is currently under construction, located in the Chelsea area in Manhattan, New York City. So what do we do? We offer the Yext Search Experience Cloud. In this talk, I'm only going to talk about a couple of pieces of our Search Experience Cloud. I'll stick to our products at the top of this diagram. I'll spend most of my time talking about Answers, our site search product, a little bit about the technology as well. But I'll briefly touch upon these two other products first. We offer our Search Experience Cloud to companies and brands in various sectors like retail, hospitality, healthcare, banking, food services, and so on. So let's start with our products. Listings is one of our foundational products, one of our earlier products. I'll illustrate what it does by using an example. McDonald's is one of our clients, and McDonald's has tens of thousands of restaurants across the world. They need to send information about each restaurant location, like address, hours of operation, phone number, to platforms like Google Maps, Yelp, Bing, etc. Instead of McDonald's maintaining all of this information at all these different platforms, they push their restaurant location information to Yext. We then manage this data in our Yext knowledge graph, and we take care of synchronizing this information across all these different platforms. If McDonald's needs to change the US national toll-free phone number, they make the change in one place on our Yext platform, and we synchronize this update to all these various platforms in turn. We also leverage integrations we've built with these platforms to pull in things like reviews users leave on these platforms. And we create a single place for brands to manage information about their business entities, look at sentiment analysis over what users are saying about their products and services, and several other things. We maintain integrations with over 100 different platforms. Now that brands manage information about their businesses on our knowledge graph, with the introduction of our Pages product, we started providing brands with the ability to create Yext-hosted web pages powered by our knowledge graph. We provided Denny's with templates to build a restaurant locator that shows customers where to find a Denny's near them. This is a Yext-hosted web page within Denny's own domain. The information about these Denny's locations comes from our knowledge graph. We provide several other kinds of assets and templates that brands can use to build out their web pages, all powered by the Yext knowledge graph. Now on to Answers. With the introduction of Answers, we entered the search domain. Specifically, I'm talking about site search. The customer journey begins with a question, and users expect answers. Users are asking more and more complex questions, and they demand intelligent answers informed by the semantic meaning of those questions. Most site searches today are not very effective in providing answers to customer questions, and this can be frustrating to users, which leads to users leaving brand websites to seek answers elsewhere, and opens consumers up to the possibility of getting incorrect information from third-party platforms. Do you all remember this? The Tide Pod challenge that went viral about 2 years ago, with people, mostly teenagers, posting videos of themselves eating Tide Pods. This is obviously a very stupid thing to do. To try to deal with this ordeal, Tide had to organize mass media campaigns to educate people on why they should not be ingesting pods of their laundry detergent. So I went to Tide.com just a couple of days ago, literally 2 days ago, and using their site search, I tried to find out if I can eat Tide pods. This is 2 years after this whole mess started. As you can see, I didn't get any relevant information right away. I get a bunch of links to articles that I'm expected to go through to eventually maybe stumble upon the nutritional facts of Tide pods. So why is site search today usually not a great experience for consumers? That's because creating a great search experience is very expensive. Beyond the initial implementation of ingesting data sets, creating indexing schemes optimized for search, and serving results, there needs to be substantial continuous investment to improve search quality. Great search costs a lot to deliver. To do it well, companies build teams of tens or even hundreds of people devoted specifically to search quality and ongoing maintenance. Yext Answers provides great search for any brand with a website. You get the power of a fully managed search experience without the overhead of having to hire developers, ensure search quality, and maintain search infrastructure. As our technology gets smarter, your search experience gets better. Let's look at some examples of site searches with Yext Answers. I'll show you some screenshots followed by live demos. Here's an example from a telecom client in the UK, 3Mobile. This is a search for new iPhones. As you can see, results are formatted according to the content. Knowledge cards are created for each iPhone product along with pictures and conversion actions to view each product. Where can I buy an iPhone in London? This search results in a map with pins for 3Mobile store locations. I lost my iPhone. What should I do? You get some frequently asked question information, FAQs, along with information on what to do next. On the brand or client-facing side of the Answers platform, brands can see analytics and reporting for what kinds of things customers are searching for. What are the most popular searches or questions, search trends over time, things like that. Brands can then use this information to make sure their search experience is answering the questions people are asking the most. Let's switch over to a live demo. This is covid19.nj.gov. covid19.nj.gov is the official COVID-19 information hub for the state of New Jersey. This is where the New Jersey state government wants their residents to go to for COVID-related questions. This page is built on Yext Answers. Let's try a couple of searches. Let's do, how do I contact the hotline? As you can see, you get knowledge cards with actions to contact the relevant hotlines. Let's try one more. Let's do, where is COVID-19? You get an action to view their dashboard, which monitors and maps cases across the state. Let's look at another example. This is yext.com/answers. You can ask questions about Yext. Let's try, who is the CEO of Yext? As you can see, you get a direct answer with a little biography on Howard. Let's try one or two more. Yext Search Experience Cloud. Well, tells you more about it. Let's do one last one. Let's do a free trial of Yext Answers, which leads you to a way to get just that. Let me move back over to the slides. Now let's look at a little bit into the technology behind our search experiences. Here's an example of a search. Best department store in New York, open now, that sells women's dress shirts. A traditional search could do something like look for occurrences of these keywords within your documents and return references or links to those documents. It could even order those links to those documents based on the frequency of these keywords found in the documents. But all this doesn't really give you exactly what you want. With answers, we arrive at the intent behind this search. We use natural language processing and other techniques to infer contextual and semantic meaning from these search terms, to provide the best possible answer. We train our language models to recognize that best, for example, is a quality attribute on department store, which is a category of locations. So for a query like how many calories in the new steak club, with traditional site search, you get a bunch of links and you have to do more digging around to find the information you want. With answers, you get a direct answer to your question and results that are well formatted and rich in content. In the back end, we use a federated architecture that searches across various parts of a brand's Yext knowledge graph. Brands can also plug in data sources external to Yext that we can also search over. We'll then rank relevant results across these different verticals and present the most relevant answers to the user. Very importantly, brands can curate their search experience by managing their data sources and customizing how results should be retrieved, ordered, and displayed. We give brands control over their search experience, all the way from the front end, the look and feel, the user interaction on the web page, to processing results on the back end. In closing, with answers, customers get brand verified answers to their questions straight from the source, which leads to a much better customer experience. It helps brands get accurate information to their customers. It helps retain more customers and drives transactions within their website. It also lowers support costs with customers able to access information through site search rather than having to call your support center. That's all from me. That was about the products we build and what we do. I'll turn it over to my colleagues now to talk about the people and teams and engineering who make all of this happen. Over to you guys.
Great, thanks, Vig. I did realize that we glossed over introductions at the beginning, so I just want to pause briefly here and let everyone introduce themselves. So Vig, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. Again, my name is Vig. I'm an engineering manager at Yext, and I work in the Answers group.
And I'm Nam, and I'm an engineering lead in the software side of the product, and I work specifically on the platform team. And so my team owns a lot of kind of shared services that are used across a lot of the products that Vig mentioned.
And I'm Oscar. I lead a team working on the Yext knowledge graph, which stores all the data that customers put into Yext. And I joined Yext right out of college, and I've been here for almost 5 years.
Cool. So yeah, like Vig said, we're going to kind of take a bit of a step back and talk a little bit about the team and kind of how we work together to build all of these products. So I am going to hand it over to Oscar to kind of talk a little bit about the team structure.
Cool, thanks, Nam. So within Yext, we have two types of engineers. We have product engineers and consulting engineers. So product engineers, they work on our product as well as engineering tooling and infrastructure. And meanwhile, consulting engineers work directly with our customers to build their pages, which Vig showed earlier, as well as data pipelines into the Yext platform. Currently, we have just over 170 engineers spread out over 30 teams. And although everyone is working remotely right now, we have engineering offices in New York City, Roslyn, which is in Virginia, and Miami. And a majority of our engineers are based in New York City. Also right now, we're building out new offices in New York City and Virginia, which I'm very excited to work in after things return to normal.
Next slide. Cool. So we use a wide variety of different languages and technologies at Yext, and it does vary a bit by team, but most of our teams are kind of organized in vertical slices of our system. So a single team will own a single product area from front to back end. And so for the most part, everyone is a relatively full stack engineer with, of course, subspecialists here and there. And most of our services are written in Java. We do have a handful in Go as well. And for the front end, we use vanilla JavaScript for some things, React, jQuery, HTML, CSS. And it's one of my favorite things about Yext also is that it's a great place to kind of try out new technologies. There's very little barrier to kind of trying out something and seeing if it works and doing some performance and load testing and kind of looking to adopt new technologies. And so, for example, we've tried out using Kafka recently. We use RabbitMQ, Elasticsearch, et cetera. So yeah, these are all some of the cool technologies that we work with.
So in terms of benefits for engineers, so we have a Learning is Good program where Yext covers all costs for you to travel to a software engineering conference of your choosing. And before the COVID-19 travel restrictions hit, I've used this to attend Strangeloop, which is a conference I really enjoy in St. Louis, for the past 2 years. Moving on, every engineer also can get a free O'Reilly online subscription, which gives you access to this huge library of software engineering books. We also have a pretty generous book budget for books not covered in the O'Reilly online subscription. And we're also pretty into reading groups. Almost any given time, we have a reading group going on. And in fact, right now, we have 2 remote reading groups going on, one on Java performance, one on a Java performance book, and one on a Unix administration book. The entire engineering organization has bi-weekly demos where each team demos the work they accomplished. And so you can see what other teams at Yext are working on. And also, again, before the COVID-19 travel restrictions, we had 2 engineering offsites per year. So Yext will fly us out to somewhere nice. And in the past, we've gone to places like Miami, Maine, and Vermont. And at these offsites, we spend half the time learning through talks, tutorials, and hackathons. And then we spend the other half of the time having fun and socializing. And in addition to these offsites, we also have monthly social events for engineers. So it's really easy to get to know your coworkers and make friends.
Cool. So in terms of what we're looking for right now, we are hiring for currently software engineers, both who are on the more junior side with 3-ish years of experience, and also more senior software engineers with 7+ years of experience. And we really care about people who enjoy solving complex problems and enjoy a really collaborative environment with a big focus on learning and mentorship and education. So we're not too particular about how good you are at Java or any of those technologies I mentioned earlier. It's more just kind of an openness to learning new things and being excited about being in a fast-moving environment.
Cool. And as for future roles, we will open up the application for new grad software engineers and summer interns in August. And for these applicants, interviews will take place through the fall and winter, and we aim to have offers out by January.
And if you do decide to consider working at Yext, just to give you a brief overview of what to expect through the interview process. So essentially after your application kind of goes through review, we'll put it into our system. A recruiter will reach out just to kind of get a feel for what you're looking for and how it would fit with Yext. And then the next step from there is a technical phone screen with one of our software engineers to further get to know you. And then after that would be the on-site, although currently virtual, interview where we have several rounds aimed at kind of exploring more of your coding, problem solving, debugging abilities. Cool. And that is all we have for you today. It was great to talk to you all, and we have extra time. So please, if you have any questions, type them in the chat and we are happy to answer them. So I do see one question from a couple minutes ago about if there's any job opportunities for new grads. So like Oscar mentioned, we are hiring for new grads. We'll probably be opening up the rec for that a little bit in a couple months once we get closer to the semester starting. But yes, we are hiring for new grads. Cool. See another question, does the technical phone screen involve coding or just a conversation? Do you want to take that one, Oscar?
Sure. Yeah. So the technical phone screen, it it is a coding question that you'll work through on CoderPad with a Yext engineer, and CoderPad is just this online collaborative code editor.
And then I see, could you please talk more about your role and day-to-day responsibilities? Yes. So like I said, I currently work on the platform, in the platform group. And so essentially I manage now 2 teams who work on various services that are part of our core platform. And so in terms of what I do on a day-to-day basis, a lot of it is kind of running my team and making sure that they're all set up for success. I'm their manager, people manager as well. So I work with them on kind of ensuring that they're getting what they want out of their career and growing as they would like to and providing them opportunities to do so at Yext. I have spent less and less time sort of hands to the keyboard coding as I've kind of grown into being a tech lead and a manager, but I do still spend maybe like 15 to 20% of my week coding. And yeah, other things I do, kind of liaising with our product team and making sure that we have the proper technical specs and requirements in place, asking questions related to that and whatnot. Yeah, and Oscar and Vig have similar but different roles than me as well. So if you two have other things to add on to that, feel free.
I'd be happy to take the next couple of questions here. Great questions coming up. Just to quickly address the H-1B, the work visa sponsorship, the answer is yes. I hope that's a sufficient response. Great question from Michaela. Hope I'm saying that right as well. Why Yext? What was the selling point for each of you when deciding to accept a job there? I suppose I can start because out of the group of Yexters here, I was the one who made the switch most recently. I've been at Yext for about a year now, and I made the switch from a much larger company, a company that had over 7,000 engineers, and I had been there for a long time. And a few of my motivators for joining Yext were I had wanted to join a smaller company that was rapidly growing and building out some new tech that I could get my hands on, and basically to make have a larger impact on the company as a whole and work with more modern tech. I think those were a couple of my motivations. And immediately, the first week that I joined, I realized that I started making, relatively speaking, very significant contributions right away. So like the first week, I contributed to some feature, and then the end of that week, I saw that in one of our sprintly demos or like quarterly release announcement, product announcements, that hey, this feature is now available. I'm like, what, really? That thing that I just did my first week was that significant? Great. And I felt that way ever since. Right now, on just because for me personally, I work on Answers. We're building out very cool, revolutionary technology that is going to change site search across the industry, and we're figuring out some new problems to solve there, and very challenging technical problems. So I feel like I'm learning a lot of new things for me personally, new skills, new tech, and also making a significant impact to the company. Does anyone want to add to that from their personal experience, or should we move on to another question?
Yeah, I think a lot of those points I would also agree with. There are also things that drew me to Yext. The other thing really for me was, because I've been at Yext since graduating college, and I've been there for almost 7 years. And so for me, when I first came out of college, I just felt like it was a great place to grow really quickly, and that has certainly been true. And specifically, I felt like a lot of the people there, they weren't just trying to hire people to write a bunch of code. They sort of like actually cared about your career development and your career growth, and so that was very compelling to me.
Cool. And I'm in a similar boat as Nam. I joined right out of college back in 2015, and I joined mainly because I wanted to work for a smaller company. And at the time when I joined, there were only about 50 engineers. But I think over the past few years, I'm still happy because as an engineering organization, there's tons of new challenges. And I also feel like we've also improved and grown a lot as an engineering organization as we expand.
The next couple of questions are recruiting related. Nam, do you want to take those, or should I try to take it?
Yeah, sure. So if we have opportunities for individuals graduating from boot camps, yeah, absolutely. We'll take a look at anyone who's come from a boot camp, and yeah, same interview process and whatnot. So yeah, absolutely. That's something that we would be open to. And then the next question looks like, are you guys hiring mid-level 5+ years, or is that considered junior? So it's not considered junior. It's just software engineer would be the title there. And yes, we are hiring for that experience level.
Hiya.
Hi.
That's been through all the questions. Thank you all so much. It was a fantastic talk, and it was really good to hear about Yext. And there's so many great benefits as well, and there's a lot to learn, and it's really exciting. What would be the best way for attendees to learn more?
Yeah, so we do have some people at the expo, so feel free to stop by and chat with folks who work with us. They'll be happy to talk to you more. And I believe we're also going to be here next Friday, so in case you didn't have time to check us out today, next Friday as well. And then in terms of outside of the conference, there's a ton of information on our website on the yext.com/careers, and on there you'll find job descriptions and more information about what we're building and who we're hiring.
There we go. There's a link there. Post it into the chat from Vig. Awesome. Thank you, and thanks everyone for attending as well. And there'll be more sessions available. Sessions tab, and then like Nam mentioned, there will be an expo too. So yeah, thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for your questions.
Thank you
Thanks,
all
everyone.
for your time.
Bye.
Bye.